Welcome to Warhammer Warscroll Review. Today we'll be going over the Dragonlord, a Warscroll from the Order Draconis faction. If you think we've missed anything or have some tips of your own, don't forget to leave them in the comments. Also leave in the comments or any suggestions for Warscrolls you'd like to hear covered. Warscroll Review.
Alright, so we're going over the Dragonlord today. He used to be called the High Elf Prince on Dragon, but now that he's part of Order Draconis, he's just the Dragonlord. So as you can see, there are a few different weapon options. He can either take the bow, the lance, or the blade. A lot of people wind up going with the lance just because it gets a lot of bonuses on the charge, which we'll wind up going over later, but the blade's also pretty good. So just a quick rundown, the bow is 20-inch range, 3 attacks, it's 3s and 3s, 1 damage. The lance, just base, is 2-inch reach, 3 attacks, 3s, 3s, rend 1, damage 2. The blade, also 2-inch range, 4 attacks, 3s, 3s, rend 1, d3 damage. And then the mount has its base 2 attacks. It's got the claws. It's 2-inch range, starts with 6 attacks, 4s, 3s, rend 1, 2 damage. And then the big boy, which is the jaws, 3-inch range, 3 attacks, 4s, starts off as wounding on 2s, rend -2, and d6 damage.
Yeah, the jaws are definitely the Dragonlord's most powerful weapon. Even landing one good jaw attack can make up for missing every other weapon.
So, just his base weapon profile is pretty good. However, the real perks for taking the Dragonlord is obviously if you take the Order Draconis keyword, it's pretty limiting as far as the models you can choose from. However, the synergy is pretty efficient, and I would say it's kind of a one-trick pony. This is actually the main army that I use. Very thematic, very fluffy, but very limited as there are only 3 models in Order Draconis.
Yeah, it's not a lot of variety.
No, it's just Dragon Princes, 1 Dragon Prince hero, or the Dragonlord. And if you're taking this list, it's probably because the Dragon model is pretty awesome.
They still kind of cover your bases because you got mortal wounds, you got range attacks, combat, and you're super fast. So it still covers everything you kind of need in a basic army.
Yes, the one thing I would put this above as far as all of the elf subdivisions is it does come with a Warscroll battalion, which we will also go over. I really think that brings the whole thing together. But for right now, we're just going to talk about the Dragonlord as a single model. You can use it with, other generic Order armies, and it's still fairly efficient. It's really got a little bit of everything as far as range, melee, movement, bonuses on the charge. It's got a command ability. I think it's overall a pretty decent model. It is 400 points, so if you're playing a standard 2,000 point game, it's almost a quarter. But if you put it on the table, you can usually see why, and generally I usually take one. I find it's definitely worth the 400 points.
Yeah, he ranks up there with the other 400 point models like the Frostsword, and I'm not sure the Star Drake. Star Drake's a little bit more than that, but he still contends with everybody up there.
I also think he's one of the coolest looking elf models.
Yeah, probably.
So I hope they don't update that model. I think it looks great. But going on to the lower half of the scroll, you can choose one of the 3 weapons. Typically people go with the lance or the sword. As far as his other hand, he can either take an elven war horn or an enchanted shield. Now this, I believe, really determines whether you're going to go Order Draconis or General Order. The Enchanted Shield just lets you reroll all failed saves, which is great. The War Horn, you do lose that kind of tankiness. However, once per round, you can activate it, and the dragon in every Order Draconis model within 10 inches gets 1 extra attack to each of their weapons. So it would include the mount, which is pretty huge. So obviously if you stack a lot of these, there is an infamous list going around on the internet with 3 of the horns. You're looking at the jaws, 3-inch range, 6 attacks, 4s, 2s, -2, then d6 damage. So the possibility for that is 36. Pretty good.
Yeah, it really lets you put a lot of punch in just one turn, but you can also like spread it out if you have multiple horns. Like if you really need to take out something in that one turn, you can pop all your horns, but you still got the variety.
So, if you're gonna take generic order, the shield's the way to go. It definitely 4+ save, of course, pretty average, but being able to reroll it definitely makes it a little bit of a tank. However, if you just wanted to go damage, and you could just take a bunch of dragons, have them all buff each other, not only with the War Horn, but this also brings us to his command ability, which allows him and everyone within, let's see, I believe it's 10 inches, you can reroll hits for all of your melee weapons. Well, actually, you can roll it for the Reaver Bow if you so choose, but I've actually never seen anyone take the Reaver Bow.
I don't know why you would sit back 20 inches if you're going to do a Dragonlord.
Yeah, that doesn't really make much sense to me. However, you know, maybe you just like the model, and I think that's a great reason as well.
Yeah.
But the command ability, letting himself, all his weapons, so the mount and the rider, and if you have dragon blades, other dragons, nobles, around rerolling hits, to put that in perspective, if you were to stack everything on top, let's say you sounded off 3 horns, your jaws would have 6 attacks, hitting on 4s, rerolling misses, wounding on 2s, Ren -2, doing d6 damage per wound. The other perk for the Dragonlord is he does have a shooting attack, or really a shooting ability, where you choose a unit within 12 inches and roll 1d6. On a 1 or 2, the unit takes 1 mortal wound. 3 or 4, it takes d3 mortal wounds. And on a 5 to 6, it takes d6 mortal wounds. This really rounds out the Dragonlord as far as putting it in a generic order list. It's got the mortal wound output, it can move base 14 inches, it's got a lot of, you know, rend 1-2 attacks, it's got 3 of them if you stack them all on top of each other. And then this is where the mortal wound output comes in, which I think is an essential part of list building, is making sure that you're, you know, covering everything. You have your chaff, you have your melee, your ranged, your mortal wounds, the ability to reroll things, and, you know, a lot of the synergy that comes with the command ability. I think it's overall a really good example of just what something should, what a 400-point model should cost, like base. You know, it's pretty good in all categories. However, I don't think it's extremely deadly in one. I don't think the ranged attack is amazing. I don't think the mortal wound output is the best in the game. I don't think it's really the best in the game at anything. However, it's pretty good at everything. You know, being able to 4-up rerolling saves, pretty good. However, you'll come across 2-up rerolling saves.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's overall pretty solid. However, if you're coming up against something like a Frostlord on Stonehorn, or even some of the hefty Forge World models, they can definitely take on a dragon. Its command ability is great, but if you go and knock out the general, you know, all the Order Draconis things around it kind of crumble. I think it's a solid model, not the best at any one particular thing, but a jack of all trades. I think it's really cool looking, and I think between those two factors, it's definitely a Warscroll to take a look at.